regenerative farming, this is my second show and tell of the day, is these are the principles of regenerative
Okay, so you've
farming.
got this tea towel.
I have a tea towel.
Which has
yes.
this beautiful illustration on.
And in regenerative agriculture, can you see that?
Yeah, we have the 5 principles of regenerative agriculture, which we have diversity, livestock integration, protect the soil surface, minimize soil disturbance, and then if you just lift it up onto the microphone, and then maintaining living roots. Okay.
Yeah, so these are basically all the things that Gabe said in his book. And when I came home, Dad had done minimalised soil disturbance. So he'd been doing that for the past 8 years. So the day he decided he was doing this, he sold the plough.
So a plough is quite a fundamental instrument in any farmer's kind of
it is
machinery, right?
The instrument.
Yeah. It's how you get the soil ready to then plant seeds.
Yeah.
Essentially, which is the fundamental part of any kind of cropping process.
Yeah. So Dad read this book and then the next day sold the plough, which you'll find is a key sort of trait. Similar to you, jumps right in. Dad doesn't, we're quite different in that aspect. But yeah, so he sold it and then, however, we'll come back to this in a minute, but we don't want to demonize the plough. The plough isn't a bad thing, but for right now in our journey, it was a bad thing.
So, I mean, before we move on, if you could define regenerative agriculture, is it those 5 things that is the definition of it, or what is the kind of the top line?
Regenerative agriculture is basically trying to bring back soil health. So for years, we've been eroding, degrading, chemically filling our soils, okay? And those soils have lost all of their organic matter, like depleted, kind of. So regenerative agriculture is trying to bring back those top bits of soil, those top 6 inches of soil, and fill them with living roots, fill them with organic matter, fill them with organic manure, like just revive them basically, fill them with bugs and insects. And that's what this is trying to do. And the idea is that it'll stop flooding, will be more weatherproof, global warming wise, and also it's healthier for us. So if you were to test a carrot that's been grown in a conventional system, I mean, carrots are difficult because it's really hard to grow carrots in a regenerative system. So say wheat. If you were to test wheat that's been grown in a conventional system full of chemicals, and then you test one that's been on a regenerative journey for the past 9-10 years, say, that will be so much more nutritionally dense for you than the conventional wheat.
Wow, so even the food itself, the crop, will taste and be more nutritiously different than one grown non-regeneratively.
Yeah, so you hear people with all these gut problems, and gut is like a really important word at the moment, but like we need to fill our gut with nutritionally dense, healthy food, and obviously organic can do that, but you can also get organic farms that have minimal soil health as well. So their soils are kind of dying off a little bit. Without a good rotation, so the different plants that you crop every year, you plant every year, you don't necessarily have nutritionally dense food. You have to put these principles into play. And I think the biggest one for me, because I love sheep so much, thanks to Timmy, is livestock integration.
Okay, let's come to that in a second. Just so I can get my head around this and people listening can understand. Mm-hmm. The way I see this is that let's take a typical field.
Yes.
With typical farming, with ploughing, you're disturbing the topsoil.
Yeah. Ploughing's very deep. Current ploughing.
Okay.
So we'd be disturbing a good... Yeah, you'd be bringing up the bottom soil.
And a good topsoil, you mentioned these 6 inches of soil, would be nutritiously dense. And it's the best way to grow something in, because any seed can have all the nutrients and any plant can grow from that. But by ploughing a field, you're disturbing the soil. And because you're turning it up, you're making it unstable, right?
Yeah, so basically, if you were to shallow plough and just disturb the top 6 inches, and within your rotation, so rotation is the crops that you plant every year, if you were to do that and you only ploughed every 9 years, it would be fine. You can still plough on a farm. But if you're ploughing every single year, that soil is constantly rotating. And if you're ploughing super deep as well, you're disturbing all of that goodness, and it doesn't have a chance to sort of establish itself and maintain the living roots and maintain the organic matter, because it's being moved about. You know, its habitat is literally being destroyed.
And this has been a problem with industrial farming for decades, right?
Yeah, and we've been doing this as a farm.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up, apart from our organic stint that we had, I grew up on a farm like this. So chemicals weren't the norm.